Welcome to my channel, Baking and Buttercream. My name is William, and today we'll be baking a beach-themed ombre cake. So let's take a break and bake. Today on Baking and Buttercream, I want summer to continue. So school's starting for a lot of America, so I'm making a beach-themed ombre cake to keep the summer going even though school's starting. Now let's bake that beach-themed ombre cake. Before we start baking, we're going to grease our pans. This recipe calls for 8-inch pans, and then we're also going to preheat the oven to 350. The ingredients you need are 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1½ cups of sugar, 3/4 cup of unsalted butter, 1/4 cup of milk, 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 4 large eggs, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, and finally, to color our cakes and make it an ombre cake, royal blue gel food coloring. For decoration you need white buttercream frosting, a light blue buttercream frosting, a mild blue buttercream frosting, and royal blue buttercream frosting. Fondant for making sea life decorations, edible paint to paint the fondant decorations, graham cracker crumbs to look like sand, clear piping gel, and blue food coloring to make the clear piping gel look like water. The first step to making our cake batter is combining our flour, baking powder, and salt. When it's thoroughly combined, set this off to the side. Now we're going to add our butter, sugar, vegetable oil, and vanilla extract into this bowl. Now that everything's in the bowl, time to mix it up. Now that everything is evenly mixed, we're going to add the eggs in one by one. I'm actually going to teach you a cool trick. It's how to crack an egg one-handed. So just crack that egg on a hard surface, and you're going to shove your thumb into the crack, and you're just going to pull the eggshells apart, and then you cracked your egg one-handed. Let's mix it up. We're only 1 egg in. We have 3 more to go, but I can promise you this batter is going to be excellent. Let's scrape those sides down before we introduce it to our dry ingredients. Half the dry ingredients are in this bowl, but there's so much flour on top, I don't want to use my mixer just yet, or I might get a whole bunch of flour poofed right in my face. So I'm going to use my trusty old spatula and just mix in that flour a little bit, and then I'll use the mixer. Alright, I got the flour mixed in enough so that I can now use my mixer. The dry ingredients are now mixed in, so we're going to slowly add our milk in. It's time for the final milk mix. Okay, so the milk is fully mixed in, but now your batter is going to look a little curdled, and that's okay. That's what you want it to be for right now, because we need to add in the rest of this flour to make it that delicious vanilla cake batter. Once again, I'm just going to use the spatula just to fold in some of this flour, and then we'll mix it up. Most of the flour is folded in, so now I can mix it up the rest of the way. Now we're just going to scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure we got all the bits of flour or whatever off the sides so that we can have the perfect vanilla ombre cake. Time to mix it up again. Since we're making an ombre cake, we're going to have 3 different colors of blue in our cake. So I'm going to divide this batter as evenly as possible into these 3 bowls so we can color it. So I divided it about as evenly as I possibly could. Now I'm just going to color them with the royal blue gel food coloring. The way you want to do this is by taking a toothpick and dipping it into the gel food coloring and just drag it through. But make sure if you want it to have a darker color, use a different toothpick. You don't want to use the same toothpick that was put into your batter. It's time to mix this batter up. This is the perfect color to start off with our ombre cake. This would be the lightest color in our cake as well. And so remember that part of the color will also bake out while it's in the oven. Now we can set this off to the side and work on our slightly darker blue batter. So just like before, we're going to actually put in more than what we did before so that it will get even darker. So I'm going to use 2 toothpicks this time. Let's mix this batter up. Okay, so I finished these 2 batters already, and look, you can already tell a difference in the 2 colors. And that's just with a little bit more food coloring in this batter than in this one. So now it's time to make the royal blue batter in this container. So the first one, I used 1 toothpick of gel food coloring. The second one, I used 2 toothpicks of gel food coloring, and you guessed it, this one, I'm using 15. I'm kidding. I'm just using 3. Just 1 to each one, so it's the same, so it slightly just gets darker. Time to mix up the future dark blue batter. I am now all done coloring the batter, and this is what the batters look like. As you can see, each one gets darker, and it's just that little bit of extra food coloring that goes a long way. We're just gonna put the batter into the pans. I only have 2. It works amazingly if you have 3, so you can all do them at the same time. But if you have 1 or 2, no problem. Just do it one at a time, just like what I'm gonna do. But I have 2 pans, so I have to do it one more time with the dark blue. But so all you're gonna do is just scrape down your bowl and make sure to get all of that cake batter out. Now I'm just going to take the middle blue and put it in this pan just like we did with that one. Make sure if you have any batter on the sides to wipe that off before we put it in the oven. These cakes are ready to be put in the oven. We'll be putting them in there for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, so keep your eyes on these cakes. If you have any extra batter, like I do, just cover it up and sling wrap. Make sure that you have a good seal on it so that no air can get in there and ruin your batter, and then place it into your fridge. Whenever you're ready, you can take the batter out of the refrigerator, put the batter into it, and put it into the oven. Okay, so our cakes are all done cooling. We put them on a cooling rack after they got out of the oven, but before we start to stack them, we're going to go ahead and make our fondant decorations. The first step of making your fondant decorations is kneading it until it is soft and pliable, so that you can take a small amount off later and press it into your mold without it being all dry. Make sure to get it as even as possible. Then, when you're all done, make sure to take them out carefully and set them on a plate. Now here comes a really hard part. It is cutting your fondant decorations. If there's any excess fondant, make sure you do so carefully to keep the shape of the fondant. These are what mine look like. Now you get to paint them with your edible paint. It's fun. You can make as many different colors as you want. One of my favorites is the giant shell with the 2 different colors on it. It just looks so good. But you can never go wrong with the classic starfish. A little drop goes a long way when you're painting, so make sure that you're using your paint carefully. You don't want to waste any of it. Here are all my fondant seed-like decorations that I made. Make sure you make plenty for your cake. So our cakes turned out pretty even, so we're not going to have to cut the top of them off because of how even they are. But if some of yours are taller than others, make sure to cut them and so that they're all really close to the same height. On the bottom layer of cake, we're going to have the darkest color, and then on the top, we'll have the lightest color of cake. All you have to do is take some of your white buttercream frosting and put it on your cake board. Just put some on there so it'll hold the cake steady. I also have a little spatula that I'm just going to put on there so that it'll have more room. So it's basically just using glue to the cake board. So now we're going to take the bottom layer of our cake, which is the dark blue, and we're going to set that on the bottom. And now we're going to pipe a border of buttercream frosting on it. Make sure to squeeze from the top so that it has even pressure. If you squeeze in the middle, it won't have even pressure as well if you squeeze from the top. Once you have your border around your cake after squeezing from the top with even pressure, you're just going to go ahead and take more buttercream frosting, and you're just going to pipe that in the middle and just fill it. I filled the border with a whole bunch of buttercream frosting, so now I have a turntable below my cake board to help smooth it out, and so I'll just turn the turntable so that it'll be as even as possible. Now we got an even layer of the buttercream frosting, so we're going to take the next darkest color, which is the middle blue, and we're going to set that on top. Now you're just going to push down a little bit so it kind of sticks to the buttercream, and now we're going to do the exact same thing and put more buttercream on this. Now we're going to go ahead and put our final cake layer onto this cake. But a little tip is that you take the bottom of the cake and put it on the top so that you have this nice even layer to frost. Unlike before, we're just going to do a simple crumb coating on the outside of the cake. All that means is we're going to do a really thin layer of buttercream frosting so that it catches all the crumbs on the outside of the cake and that we don't get that in our final product of the icing. So I went ahead and just did a really good crumb coating, and I wanted it to actually be a good baby blue kind of color. So I just mixed in the buttercream frostings that we had. I refilled my piping bag, and then I set this into the fridge and I let it chill for a couple hours covered in saran wrap. Our crumb coat buttercream layer has now fully hardened from being in the refrigerator for a couple hours. So what we're going to do to make this ombre cake, we're going to take our white buttercream frosting and pipe a border around the top just like we did how to fill the insides of the cake. Make sure to get as even pressure as possible. And now we're just going to fill that in. And remember, this top part doesn't have to be super even because this will be the part of the sand. We'll have the graham cracker crumbs up here as sand, and so it doesn't have to be super even because it will be covered with the graham cracker crumbs. Now we're just going to take our small angled spatula, which you can find on my website. There's a link down in the description directly to the store where you can find this. Check out my website. Make sure you do that. All right, but so we're just going to use our turntable and just slowly spin it, applying even pressure. I'm just kind of going back and forth with it. Okay, so I think I'm all done. Okay, so this is about as even as I'm going to get it for right now because it doesn't really matter because we're going to go ahead and add our graham cracker crumbs on later after we decorate the sides, so I'll cover up all the uneven spots that we have. Okay, so I'm going to start decorating this cake by just putting the frosting around the sides, and then we'll scrape off the excess, leaving the wonderful look of the ombre cake with it getting darker to the lighter with the higher it goes. How I'm decorating the sides of the cake is just by taking the buttercream frosting and making lines across the cake and making sure that they are thick, just so when I'm scraping the sides that I don't accidentally scrape too much and hit the cake. I also have a little template on one part of the cake to see where I need to have the different layers start and end so that it's all pretty much the same amount of buttercream layers. Okay, so now we have all the layers of buttercream on there, and it doesn't look that pretty, but that's okay because we have our giant spatula here to save our day, and we're going to just even it out. But first, let's clean up our workspace a little bit so that we don't have a little bit of buttercream everywhere. Okay, so our workspace is clean, and so now we're going to take our giant spatula and we're just going to scrape down the sides. Luckily, we have a turntable, and so we're just going to spin the turntable while we keep even pressure of the spatula and even out all this delicious buttercream. Don't forget, it helps if you have a bowl on the side to scrape all that off so that you can have a clean spatula. Make sure to smooth out your sides as even as possible. And then also, here's an angle shot of me smoothing out the sides. Okay, so I am all done scraping down the sides, and it looks fabulous. And the great thing about this, what really makes this cake represent the ocean is that the deeper you get in the ocean, the darker it gets, but the lower you get on this cake, the darker it gets. Isn't that amazing? Alright, so now comes the fun part, decorating. But not just with buttercream, but with things like graham cracker crumbs and fondant decorations. Okay, so I put my graham cracker crumbs in a cup so that I have just a little bit more control, and all I'm gonna do is just pour it over the top of the cake. Now I have some just in the middle. I'm just gonna take my hand and lightly push it all over the top so that the sand gets everywhere on top. Just like real sand, we want it everywhere on the beach. It helps also if you pat it down so it sticks to the buttercream frosting. And it's okay if it gets on the side of your cake, because remember, the side of your cake is the ocean, and the ocean sure does have sand. Okay, so I covered the top of the cake with the graham cracker crumbs, aka our sand, and now we get to do some decorating with our fondant decorations that we spent a lot of time putting into our molds and then painting them with the colors of our choice. So I'm going to start off with a starfish, and I'm going to just put it right in the middle and kind of have it stick up, and just be right in the middle and make it look so good. Make the water for the cake. Just put some clumps of the piping gel into a bowl and mix it up into as a slime consistency. Then add blue food coloring into it. Once it's all evenly combined, and add it into your piping bag. Now we have our piping gel that's going to be our water for this cake. We're going to pipe it around the border where our sand is, and it's going to go back and it's going to drizzle down the cake like it's going back into the ocean, like when a wave hits up on the sand and then it goes back. Now we're all done drizzling it, and it looks so good. You might have to do the drizzles manually, but that's okay because it looks so good. It looks like the ocean is coming up to the beach and then coming right back down into the water. This cake looks amazing with all the different layers that get lighter as you go up, and then the water that border up the top, and then especially the little sea creatures. It looks so good. It totally represents the ocean, and I know for sure this cake is keeping my summer going even though school's starting. But the most important thing is if my taste buds will continue with me. I'm going to get a little bit of the dark blue, the lighter blue, and then let's also get some sand in there, right? Every beach needs to have a little bit of sand. This is amazing. The graham crackers give it such an amazing new texture along with the cake. The cake is so light and fluffy, and the buttercream keeps it moist, and then the graham cracker crumbs taste amazing with it. Yep, summer definitely is continuing. Thank you so much for watching this video on baking and buttercream. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a beach-themed ombre cake. I know for sure that's keeping the summer going even though school's starting. So, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload a new video. And then also share this video. I know with you faithful baking and buttercream viewers, we can get to 100 subscribers before January 1st. I know we can do it. I have faith in you guys. Now make sure to comment down below on another video you'd like me to make. Maybe another cake or something super easy. Whatever you like as long as it's a dessert. Tell me down below. Thank you for watching this video.